So I won NaNoWriMo and I read 3 books this month. So I am super proud of myself for actually having read 3 whole books this month, even though I was doing NaNoWriMo, writing 50,000 words in a month. I still managed to get 3 whole books done. So proud of myself. All 3 of the books that I read this month were all audiobooks, so I don't actually own physical copies of them, but just imagine that I'm holding them right here. Here you go. Here are the 3 books that I read this month. So we're gonna start off with the first book that I read this month, and that was Curvy Girls Can't Date Quarterbacks by Kelsey Stelting, and this is the first book in a series, I am assuming, of different like little spin-off books. And I'm pretty sure that all of the books center around a fat main character, and they're all romance. So this one specifically was about a main character, and she gets diagnosed within the first, I think, chapter or so of the book with PCOS. And PCOS is short for polycystic ovarian syndrome. I also have PCOS. I was diagnosed with it, I think, about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've never gotten to read a book with a character who has been diagnosed with PCOS, and that was super exciting for me to read. I like just found it one day while I was scrolling through Hoopla just randomly, and I was like, whoa, this looks really interesting and the description sounds really interesting, and I feel like I need to read this book and see if like the representation is any good. So this was a pretty like standard run-of-the-mill romance book, and basically it's about this girl, and she ends up making a bet with one of the really mean fat phobic girls in school, and the bet is that she'll be able to get like the star quarterback of the high school to ask her out to the homecoming, right? Yeah, homecoming. I get all the dances mixed up because I didn't really go to a lot of high school dances back in the day, so they all just kind of are the same thing to me. But anyway, there's a bet, and she has a really big crush on the quarterback and is really wanting to prove to not only like the mean girl, but also to everybody at school, everybody who's ever like doubted her or has been fat phobic to her, that she can get somebody like the star quarterback to fall in love with her. And I really loved this book, and I felt like a lot of the friendships and relationships were really well developed, and it kind of was a really good representation of being a fat girl in high school, being kind of like a loner kid. And throughout most of my high school years, I like was alone for most of them. I didn't really have a lot of friends, or really any friends at all, for a lot of the time I was in high school. Like basically all of sophomore year, I did not have a single friend. I ate lunch in the library every single day, and I didn't have anybody to talk to all year. So I could totally relate to that, and there's just so many like layers of this book that I could completely relate to. It was so weird. I really ended up liking this book. I thought it was really like sweet, really well written, and it wasn't really anything super groundbreaking in terms of plot, but it was like, you know, the representation that was really great. There were a lot of fat characters in this book and a lot of like female friendships. There's also a lot of family drama as well that I could really relate to. And it's just, you know, there's a lot of conversation about what it's like to be a fat girl in high school, and then also to have been diagnosed with PCOS, and what that kind of does to your mentality, what that kind of does to your health, and also your relationship with like food and weight gain and, you know, weight loss, stuff like that. If you've also been diagnosed with PCOS, I think that you'll also really relate to this book. And I do think that the representation is really good. I was really surprised. From the title, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll like this book. But the audiobook is really wonderful and totally grabbed my attention and kept it, and I really enjoyed it. I think I read it in like one day. So if you're looking for a book with fat representation, with PCOS representation, and that's just a really fun, light, easy read, go check it out. The next book that I read was The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow, and oh my gosh, I loved this book so much. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I've found lately, especially with my last couple of reads, all in the month of November, I've just been like, I've loved them all, but I don't know why I cannot give a book 5 stars right now. I think it might be because I've read like two of my all-time favorite books this year, and they've been 5 stars, and I'm like, if it's not at that level, if it's not like at Addie LaRue level, it's not getting a 5 stars. So for some reason my rating system has changed and I don't know how to, you know, cope with it. So I've just been giving like all of my, you know, books that I've really enjoyed lately 4 stars. But I really love this book. So basically it's kind of like a sci-fi dystopian novel with a lot of aliens thrown into it, which made me a little nervous because I don't really like aliens. I have no interest in aliens. You know, give me any other sort of supernatural entity, but I don't really like aliens. Aliens, werewolves, and vampires are all kind of in the same category of I don't care. Like, as an example, when I'm watching The Twilight Zone, I skip over every single alien episode. I do not like aliens. I don't find them interesting. However, I realized that I find them very interesting when they're half of a romantic ship. I really love that for some reason. Who would have known? But I love the concept of a human falling in love with an alien or any other non-human entity. That just, it really gets to me. That's like a really great trope that I had no idea I love so much. Now that was a really long tangent, I'm so sorry. But basically this story is about a girl named Ellie, and she is living in this like post-alien invasion dystopian world, and basically all of like human pop culture is banned, and so she has been like giving people books and listening to banned music and stuff like that. And then also there's an alien, and he's kind of also into all of these like banned human pop culture things. They end up meeting and they kind of have to fight against this like oppressive alien force. And I loved this book so much. There is a sexual representation, which I loved. I'm pretty sure that Ellie is asexual biromantic, but I'm not quite sure. I hate when nobody mentions like the actual representation that's in a book in their review. Which I know I didn't even write a review for this book, but I feel like if I did, I would have mentioned it. Okay, here it is. The main character is bisexual, demisexual. I don't know why I missed that because that's literally me. And then there's also some non-binary representation as well. So if you're looking for that kind of representation, this might be the perfect book for you. I personally really loved it. I know that some people I've seen throughout like the reviews have said they didn't really like the quote-unquote insta-love that's in the book, but I thought that it was done really well. I feel like some people are just like zero insta-love, no, never, ever. But I think that insta-love can be done really, really well. And I don't think that it's like a hard and fast rule for any trope to be like, nope, I will never read that. Because I think most tropes, I'd say like 90–95% of them can be done well, even if I typically don't like them. So that's just another rant. I realize that because I only read 3 books this month, I feel like I can talk a little bit more about them, and I'm really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying that. But I have been missing reading so much because I spent all month writing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to read a book so bad. I just like want to read, and I think that that's good because I feel like I've been in the slump for so long, and now I finally get to read again. And then following the trend of me reading books where a human falls in love with a non-human entity, I read Timekeeper by Tara Sim, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was so sweet. There were so many beautiful romantic moments in this book, and it totally tugged on my heartstrings. I loved it. I probably should have given this book a 5 out of 5 stars, but like I said, for some reason I have been very, very stingy with my 5 stars lately, so it got a 4 stars. But I loved it. I loved it so much. And it's kind of funny because I got an Audible subscription because I wanted a free audiobook, and then I kept forgetting to like, you know, cancel the subscription. However, if you have an Audible subscription, there are some audiobooks that you can get for free, and Timekeeper was one of them, and I'm like, ooh, I've been wanting to read this for a long time. Let's check it out. and I loved it. Oh my gosh, the narrator was so good. He did such a good job. Typically, I don't really like male narrators, but for this one, it was just, it blew it out of the park. And basically, it's about this boy, and he fixes clocks for like a living. And his dad also fixed clocks, and it's kind of like a big thing in this universe because time controls everything. It controls life. And so it's really, really important to make sure that like the clocks are constantly working and that there's always someone to repair them. And so the main character's father was actually caught in sort of like a time loop because the central cog of the clock that he was working on was stolen or destroyed, and that meant that that entire town where that clock was just stuck in a time loop and everything stopped. And there's also started to be some like mysterious bombings that are happening within different clock towers around England, and so that's just kind of like these like setting the stage of what's gonna happen. And I really loved this book. It had some queer representation, which I really enjoyed. And I don't really want to give too much away about it because I feel like if I do, it kind of just like gives everything away. But I really loved it. The romance was so, so cute. And like I said, a human falls in love with a non-human entity. That's all I want you guys to know. That's it. Like, if that is a trope that you enjoy, check this book out. It's so adorable. It's actually a really fast read, which I was really excited about, and I just loved it. And you know what? The prose was beautiful. The writing was absolutely gorgeous, like just breathtakingly beautiful. It definitely had that sort of historical fiction writing style, which I love. Very like sweeping and lyrical, beautiful. It really like puts you into the history, which I love. And I just really enjoyed it. I can't say enough good things about it. I feel like I had such an amazing reading month. I read so many great books this month, which is so crazy because I was just like so caught up in writing that I really didn't think too much about reading, but I knew that I wanted to get a couple of books done just so I could tell you guys about them. But I feel like out of any of these 3 books, if I was going to recommend just one of them, it would definitely be The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. That was definitely a standout for this month, and I loved it so, so much. The romance, the representation, it was so cool to read a really like innovative, different sort of sci-fi dystopian. I don't typically read a lot of dystopian anymore. That was like high school Allie was really into dystopian. Now Allie, not so much, but I did love The Sound of Stars. It was so different. I cannot wait for the sequel because that ending was so weird. It was so weird and I was not expecting it, but it was really beautiful and it like really just like hit me in the feels. So I'm super excited for the sequel for that one as well. And then I'm also currently reading the sequel to Timekeeper, which I don't remember what it's called, but it has a name. Okay, so I'm reading Chainbreaker by Tara Sim. I would tell you guys what's on my TBR for this month. However, I have like 2 kind of like special secret TBRs going on at the moment, so I'm gonna keep them a secret. You'll all definitely hear about them soon, but I really want to make them into videos. I really want to like put out a lot of content this month since I'm not doing Vlogmas. I was going back and forth about whether I wanted to do Vlogmas or not this year because I did it last year and I had such a fun time. However, I feel like because, you know, I'm staying home basically every single day and I'm not really going out and doing anything, and I just don't have a lot of stuff planned. So I felt like Vlogmas this year wouldn't be as fun or as exciting. I just noticed that my lighting changed drastically. I'm so sorry, but it's like currently 3:46 and the sun is already going down. So we're losing light. However, I just felt like Vlogmas this year would be so boring and so stressful, and after having done NaNoWriMo, I really wanted just a break. So I decided no Vlogmas this year, unfortunately. However, I do want to like create more videos this month. I feel like November I took, you know, a lot of time off, but December is gonna be like a lot of content and a lot of reading, so I'm super, super excited. Alright, so that's the end of the video, and let me know down below in the comments which books you read in November and which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like, which ones you would recommend. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!
Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you. Oh.